Hi, thank you for joining the Alchemy of Alignment. How are you today? We're tapping into another conversation centered around purpose today. I'm Susie Sanders, I'm your host. I'm the founder of Alchemy Virtual Assistants. I'm also a business coach, and I have got a really exciting guest to share a conversation with you today. We've got Jordan Leonard, who is the creative director of a really exciting local video production company. And Jordan, I've known in several different ways for quite a short while. And I'm really, really excited that he's agreed to come on camera with me today because you're usually behind it. So thank you for being here and welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Uh, well, Jordan, we were just chatting before and we do know each other, and you support Alchemy with editing of our video clips, which is no easy feat because I am not the gracious host that perhaps I come across as sometimes. And I know you make a huge impact through Say Something video in various different ways. But in order for us to start the conversation today, I would really like to know what purpose means to you.
Yeah, so for me, I think purpose is based around anything like creative. I'm quite creative at heart with anything that I do. So from when I was as young as 8 years old, I've been, video editing in some capacity, like not obviously going into businesses at 8 years old, going say something in front of the camera or whatever. But I used to start like editing. I think is VHS the right term? Like stuff that my dad used to capture. I know. And I started just by editing that type of thing, and then I've done a little bit of like music stuff, I suppose. Of like, I think I used to play the recorder, the drums.
Oh,
Yeah, I know the drums as well briefly. And then more recently, I've started DJing as well in the last sort of 5 years or so. And then in my spare time, I do a lot of photography as well. So it's always that like hands-on, like creative stuff is sort of always been the center of what I do. I suppose as well, it's a form of expression as well, because not if you put two videographers in the same room, they're going to have a different interpretation of what's in front of them. For instance, an event or a story someone's trying to tell. And I think that's why I picked up, the videography pathway from when I was younger, wanted to pursue something in that sort of creative space. And this led me to where I am today, I suppose.
oh, amazing. So creativity is so deeply ingrained in you. And I know how you've channeled that into a service, a business. And it's beautiful, isn't it? Because just hearing you talk then, I was thinking it's similar to coaching. It's about perspective, isn't it?
Mm.
And no kind of perspectives are the same. Like you say, if you've got a lineup of 10 videographers, they will all approach it differently. And I'm wondering, how does that, I mean, there must be a lot of challenges in that.
Yeah, I mean, it can certainly be like challenging. I know when I was first starting out, for the first time putting a brand out there, going, "Oh, hi, I'm Jordan. I can shoot video content for you," kind of thing. It was a bit like going on LinkedIn for the first time, starting to connect with people in the same industry and seeing more about what they're doing. It was sort of like a moment of, right, okay, I'm clearly not the only one doing this, which obviously was never the expectation going in. I know that, or I knew that video was it was a growing market because, with social media and TikTok and things like that. But I think the thing that I learned the most with it is you have to focus on what you're doing and do it for yourself. Because if I'm spending, we'll say like half hour a day or something scrolling LinkedIn or Instagram or Facebook, whatever social media platform, looking at what other people are doing, I'm just taking up that energy in my day, my month, my week, my year, when I could be working on myself to be the best videographer that I can be the best video editor I can be. And it's definitely easier said. No, what's the right way? It's not. Easier said than done, is that it? Yeah, easier said than
Yes,
done. That's the
yes.
right one. It's easier said than done because there's no worse feeling than trying to set everything up as a starting business or a sole trader, wanting to do that hobby that you like, but looking at other people who've been doing it for like 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. The one thing early on is I was trying to compare myself to them and say, well, I'm not quite doing that yet. But they were once in that position that I was in at that point, going, right, I want to be there one day. And that's the one thing that I had to keep reminding myself, is that, it's a marathon, not a sprint with everything. And it's something that sort of carried on like into other areas of my life as well. Like, I know that back in the day when I used to do YouTube quite a lot, I always used to think like, right, I've got to push all this content out there, get all this out. And I wasn't no like amazing, famous YouTuber or whatever, but for me, I done it because I enjoyed it and I got out of it what I wanted to, and that was to do the video stuff. But again, like I had other friends who were doing a similar sort of thing. And I've got one friend now who's doing really well with it because, again, he's consistently gone for it because that's what he wants to do. So yeah, I think for me the main thing is just reminding myself that about that it's a marathon, not a sprint with everything.
Yeah, Jordan, you're so right, and I can really resonate with what you're saying there, because I see this. It's so common, that comparison. It's so natural that we as human beings do that, and I think some of the things I've heard there, you saying about kind of doing it for you, being true to yourself, and it's so hard, isn't it, when there is social media? There's hundreds of other people starting businesses. There's people in your industry, there's people outside of your industry. And I know I, over the years, have found it is an ongoing challenge to balance that admiration and inspiration and awareness of what's happening. But then making sure that that's turned inward in a healthy way. I know, particularly because your business has been going about 4 years.
Yeah, about 4 years. Yeah.
Yeah. And I know it's something I found more, that balance, more comfortable as the years have progressed and as the experience has shifted. But it's still a challenge. I do it. Like this morning, I was looking on LinkedIn, like, oh, that's a really good post, or that's a really great offer, and then it's kind of, I've had to learn to train myself to go, that's cool. It is what it is. What am I doing? What's important to me? What impact am I making? And I think social media is an incredible thing, but I don't know. I feel like I remember, I remember not having social media, and I'm so grateful that I was a teenager before TikTok existed. I'm so grateful for that, because yeah, let's not go there. But I feel like as a collective, perhaps our generation hasn't quite worked out the impact and the balance and how to really use social media in a healthy way. Because I think, there's reports and there's a lot of focus on how damaging it is, particularly on young people. And I'm interested in your perspective on this, because I'm a bit older than you, but obviously with your expertise and the work that you do, you create lots of content for people to promote their businesses, to promote their events. What's your take? Is social, I know it's not black and white, but is social media a good thing? Have we got a grip on it, or has it got a grip on us?
So if you asked me this question about a year and a half ago, maybe a year ago, I would have said absolutely we've got a grip on it, and it's great for a business promotional tool. However, since our introduction of our friend Mr. ChatGPT, I'd say it's very difficult nowadays to know what you're reading, and even sometimes seeing as well, is genuine, like the person behind that like LinkedIn post. And I know that obviously, for a while people, might outsource that anyway. But it's on a different level of, people are putting prompts into this, essentially a robot, I'd call it, to go make me say this online or something, or write me a caption about this, and they just copy and paste on a post and that. For some people, it might work. I'm not here to, throw slander at anyone who does that. But for me personally, everything that I do with video and anything I put on my social media, it's all about being authentic and real. I like to think that the people who work with me because of who I am and the work that I've produced in the past. Because ultimately, I believe that people buy from people in the business world, and I like to come across as well. I say come across. I'm as genuine and as honest as I can be as a person. It's something that I believe strongly. That I think social media, especially through COVID as well, I think it's something that was more important than ever, because all we were used to seeing is we couldn't shake anyone's hand anymore. It was a case of, sitting on like a Zoom call or something, making a relationship that way. But of course, with every good side of something, there's also like the bad side. When social media there's no secret to it that nowadays social media gives everyone a platform. Sometimes for great, sometimes for the not so great. And it's almost like, especially more recently, I've noticed having to take extra steps and precautions to make sure that you're showing your business in the best light possible, and that you're not letting anything open for interpretation. Not so much in the video world, because video, it's you're telling a story through that, but something that could be like an image could be perceived as different, or a caption could be perceived as different. It's certainly more in the last sort of this year I've noticed that you're getting a lot more people being called out for other things, and you've got majority groups of people who are going, that's not what that means at all. But you do have the odd few collectives who sort of push that narrative forward. And there's, unfortunately, I personally right now don't see the way out of it. I think it's just something that, like when social media was first introduced, we're all going to have to learn to manage the expectations of that and just learn to control it. I don't think AI will be the saving grace for social media in the sense of managing or controlling things. I think the thing that people need to remember is that AI is to be used as a tool. It's not something that's going to take someone's job. They're not going to take a social media manager's job, because even in order to do that, if I don't know if there's a tool yet that you push content into AI and it posts on social media for you, but I imagine probably if it's 6 months from this conversation, it might be a thing. It needs human input, and I don't think we'll ever get to the point where you just sort of say something to it and it will go and do it, because it's so unpredictable, I think, at the moment as well, what it's going to give out to you. Like, I mess around with it all the time. I think it's great if you're using it for, like, you want to have a bit of a laugh or something. But no, by no means would I use it to run my business, only because, I like that personal touch on it. But yeah, looping back to what you were saying. Yeah, I think social media is great. It's just using it the right way and the correct way, and you can really maximize the reach you can get from it, especially LinkedIn as well. I know LinkedIn's quite a nice little platform to maximize your reach on as well.
Yeah, so much juicy stuff there, Jordan, cracking into the great AI debate. And you're right. I feel like we've just got our head around social media, and then it's like, oh, here's this new thing. And you
Yeah.
mentioned some really key things there from again, it's perspective, isn't it? I think I recognise AI as an incredibly valuable tool. And if I put my Alchemy VA hat on, it is really interesting. I've had some great conversations with people recently who are businesses are being created regarding putting AI into business and leveraging it and understanding the technology and use it ethically. And we've had a lot of influx from businesses like that who value and need a virtual assistant. And just touching on what you were saying there about, like, AI is a really, really insanely useful tool, but like anything, you get out what you put in. And my personal view, as we're learning to integrate this tool into our lives, I agree with you wholeheartedly. People do buy from people, and my businesses are very relationship based. And I think as the advancement of technology, well, it's happening, isn't it, at such breakneck speed, I think the importance of human connection and the importance of that authenticity and that genuineness, and that it's human connection, the importance of that is going to become increasingly more significant. And I've had that validated from the companies that I've spoken to. They're particularly looking for a VA that has that emotional intelligence, that creativity, that personal touch. That for me is the real currency of the future, I believe. And it's interesting what you say about kind of, looking at social media, and I think I can tell quite
Yeah.
quickly what's AI copy and paste and what's actual human being. But the lines are definitely getting blurred. And I think that comes back to the point you were saying earlier about doing your thing for you in your way. And I'm guessing a lot of your clients align to that as well. They're connecting with you to show and tell their story through video. And I think whilst we've seen huge momentum in that with the input of social media, like, where do you predict the future of video? Are people going to be creating more AI content, or is the importance on the trueness and the realness going to grow?
It's something that I'm asked quite a bit with AI and video. I have sort of tinkered with a few things with it. I've been looking at. I signed up for GPT-4. I think it was about 6 months ago, and they had a tool on there where you give it a prompt and it will create a video for you, like a short form TikTok or something like that. And I think I told it to make me a TikTok video on the benefits on repurposing like a normal 16:9 video to a little TikTok thing. And this is not me trying to validate what I do, but it was quite a way out. It was certainly there and what it'd done. I was like, okay, it has legs to it. I can see it improving in that sense, but by no means was it like an actual person on video. It's like stock footage it had gathered online. And I think you'll see things like that pop up more. Maybe people putting in like prompts to try and get some content out of it using some stock footage, because again, it's the convenience, the factor of click on your fingers and it's done. There's also, I know that at the moment there's quite a trend with like these captions that come up on the screen, like all different colors, emojis, and all flying things all over the place. AI, that's getting quite good at doing that, but especially with some of the transcripting stuff. Again, it does need its helping hand with the way some people say certain words and accents and things like that. But again, more in recent times as well, you're starting to see more things like deep fake videos, where people, I don't know how it's done, how people are doing it, but I think from my understanding of it is people can, using a series of images of a person, basically mask their face onto someone else. And for me, that's where it starts to get scary. You know, the fact that this has been going on now for, I think, about maybe a couple of years, I think might even be longer, and there's been no stop put to it. I'd say out of all the threats AI brings, I'd say that's the more sort of notorious one that sticks out to me, because there's nothing stopping anyone from, say there was a business and they were putting out, I don't know, say a press release, for instance. I'm just like, we're talking like quite large scale here, and say it was something that could impact like a market value, for instance. But because it's the CEO, they're talking, their voice is being sort of modulated using AI, that can have huge potential in that business just through an AI video created through a series of data that already exists. So I hate to get really geeky on it, but it's something that does really sort of pique my interest, but also concerns me at the same time, because of how freely it's out there for one, but secondly, the damage that if it's used in the wrong way that AI can cause. And I know it's just not my industry either. I think my industry, the video stuff, it's just sort of surface level of it. You got IT, which I know is a huge topic of debate for it at the moment. But I don't know much IT stuff, so I'll leave that to the professionals.
Oh, John, you're so right there, because you've just kind of prompted in my mind. I remember a while back seeing there was lots of AI scams going on where people were using people's voices to make phone calls, and the scale in which that can be done, it's terrifying. And I agree with you. I think that it's finding a way to leverage for the greater good ethically without and kind of closing down these holes. But that's what we've all got to learn, right? How the next phase of our evolution, if you think it's that, pans out. But just to kind of bring us back to something that doesn't give me the heebie-jeebies quite as much, we've talked about kind of comparison and impact and creativity. And what are some of the things that you find helpful keeping connected to your purpose or aligning to your purpose? As we, I see so many brilliant business minds. We all get stuck on the hamster wheel, right? We all get busy. We're servicing our clients. We hit this place of kind of firefighting often, sometimes multiple times a day. So what are some of the things that you find really helpful to kind of align into that purpose, that reason, that who you are, what you're doing and why? Like, what are some of your go-tos?
I think for me, the one thing that I sometimes get a bit, I think, tend to forget is I didn't start doing what I'm doing now as this is going to be my job. It started as, like I said, 8-year-old me doing this for the fun of it. I enjoy it. And the important thing for me is that if ever I'm like going through a period where I've got a lot of work on and I've got to get some edits done and things like that, it's always important for me that afterwards I do something in that creative space, whether it's the photography, some DJing, or even video, but just for like one of my friends or something. It's important that I do that just to remind myself of this is why I started it. It's also that hobby, that enjoyment that I get out of it. Because it all started from me picking up a camera, and I think it was the first video I filmed like on an actual camera would have more than likely been my friend on his bike or a scooter. So every once in a while, it's something I always make sure that I'm doing. Same with, I've got friends who like to take their cars out on track days. Whenever they're out there, I go, let me come down, and all I do is I take my camera out there, I take some pictures for them, and I give them a GoPros and throw them in their car. And if they spin it on and land it off track, then I've got a pretty good video out of it. So it's always important for me that I started this as a hobby. Let me keep it that way. It's still a hobby to me. I'm very fortunate that I'm in the position that the hobby that I started, I'm now able to make a living from it. And it's never, I don't think it will ever set in that little 8-year-old me sat at my dad's Windows PC in his office burning DVDs, which I still have upstairs actually. That it all started from there. The interest, I stumbled on it completely by mistake. It was just curious little 8-year-old on his dad's computer, found a program. My dad sort of pointed at a few things, and then I went, oh, okay, and I sat there for maybe an hour or so and just throwing things together. So it's always important that whatever I'm doing, I'm reminding myself, that's where this started. It hasn't just started that I woke up one morning and thought, I'm going to start a videography business. No, it's like what I say, everything that I do, it's always, I do it for, I don't do it for the numbers or the likes or anything. I do it because it's what I enjoy and it's what I love doing. So yeah.
Oh, I mean, I mean, recognizing that the fact that you're doing it for the joy, for the love, the creativity, it kind of fires you up and lights you up. And I applaud you for following that and for sticking with that. And I know, I don't like to put labels on things, but to have a passion and a hobby that you're so good at and you get so much joy from, to be able to make a living from that, I mean, that's rare and that's beautiful, and I really applaud you for that. So just to kind of draw the conversation to a close today, what would be the advice that you'd offer someone who is potentially thinking, well, Jordan's Jordan's done it. Why can't I? Why can't I make a living out of my passions? What would be a couple of the things that you would suggest to that person?
I'd say two things. No, I'd say I'll go three things.
Great. Okay.
First thing I'd say is do it for you, and stick at it, because by no means is running a business, starting up on your own, an easy thing. It's not something where if you're in a part-time job doing what you're doing, or maybe working in, I don't know, a coffee shop going, oh, okay, I want to start my own business. It's hard work, but the thing to remember is the hard work pays off. It's, again, marathon, not a sprint. The second thing I'd say is, and one thing that I've sort of, I keep reminding myself on. In fact, I've got a vision board up on my desk, and I've got the quote right bang in the middle of it, and it's hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. That's it. And it's something that someone I've watched on YouTube quite a bit. He was the one who sort of, it's what he lives by. And at first, it sort of to me was like, it sounds good, but what does it actually mean? And then the more I've sort of been doing, the business stuff, it's what sort of it made me realise that, I think there's a statistic out there somewhere that says I think most businesses fail within the first, I think 5 years it is or something. And it's always about that, when things get tough, it's always, it's not about, hanging up the camera or something going, that's it, I'm done with it. It's like, right, what can I do different? It's always being on your feet. And I think as a creative, I think it's a lot easier to do than another business, another sector, because being me personally as a creative, I always try and find a problem for everything, even if the problem doesn't exist. Like I've got friends sometimes I'm trying to figure out a solution to a problem. They go, it's not a problem. It's fine. Like, and I can't remember what the third one was.
I mean, they were pretty good. They were very strong first, two. So if there's not a third coming up, then that's okay. And I think, what was that quote again? Because that was powerful. That landed with me.
But hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard.
Yes,
Yeah.
because I think you're right. I mean, it is a marathon. It is a marathon, isn't it? Not a sprint. And it's interesting because I think the world is moving towards, 6 figures in 6 seconds. We want instant results. We
Yeah.
want, everything is available to us so easily. So that kind of business mindset of it being a marathon, having the resilience, the creativity, the courage to keep moving. And it's not always moving forward, is it? It's just keep that momentum building, and knowing who you are and where you want to be and who you want to be. If you've got that clear, then it makes the marathon a little bit more joyful, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think the one thing I say is, you just reminded me of one thing that I think massively helped me. It was during lockdown as well, when mostly all of this was going on as well. I started the end of 2019, and then lockdown was literally 3 months later. And it's there's a picture out there that circles social media once every so often, but I love it, and it's basically saying that sometimes your max effort every day can look different, and it's a graph that basically goes up and down, up and down. But something again I have to remind myself of is that at the end of the day, I'm human. I'm not no AI thing. There are some days when life gets in the way. On top of all this business stuff, I'm also type 1 diabetic, and it's trying to manage that and running a business. There are days when sometimes it's difficult because I've got a health condition that's demanding 110% of me, and I've got a business that needs my attention, because if I don't get the business, then I don't get the money and I don't get the living. So it's definitely been, having to train myself that, it's not always 110 miles per hour. Some days you have to slow down, then speed up the next one.
Such an important message, and I think I've seen variations of that you're mentioning. Paul, my husband and business partner, we play a little game, kind of I can't even remember what we call it, but it's basically what's your percentage today. And Paul and I, we run businesses together. We've got a young family, so we have that little check-in with each other on a daily basis, because, for example, yesterday I could only give about 40%. I was not feeling good. And in expressing that to him, and he luckily was at a higher percentage for me, but it's like, well, I can only give 40% today. So that is 100%. That's my 100%. I'm going to roll with that today, because if I push myself, our health is the wealth, right? And it's, and that's why it's momentum, isn't it? I see it as momentum. It's not smashing through every day. It's not this hustle culture. It's like, actually, what can I do today? And that's enough. And having that compassion for yourself and that understanding.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Amazing. What a nice close to the episode. And what's the best way for people to connect with you? I know you're on various different platforms, and what's your where can our guests check you out?
So I'm on LinkedIn as Jordan Leonard. LinkedIn also Say Something Video, and then Instagram and Facebook Say Something Video, and then my website saysomethingvideo.co.uk.
Amazing. Jordan, thank you so much for sharing your insights, your wisdom, your expertise. And I'm really grateful to you for joining us as well. So we will be back soon with another episode of the Alchemy of Alignment. I'll catch up with you soon. Take care.